happens when the leading coefficient does not equal 1. And so if you were given an expression that looks like this, okay, there's a couple ways that you can do this. Do you guys remember having problems like this that you had to factor by hand? No, it doesn't. That's not in your memory banks. Yeah. Okay. You guys probably learned how to do it by trial and error, right? You just test all the different possible combinations. I'm going to show you a method that you can use so that you don't waste any time. Right? And the method is called rewriting the middle term. Okay, so here's the process if you want to try to solve these by hand without having to use trial and error. Okay, you're first going to find the product of A and B, or I'm sorry, A and C. Okay, so what is your A value here? 2, and your C value? So what is 2 times negative 6? Okay, so notice what I did is I wrote that right beneath the middle term. Okay, I take that product, write it beneath the middle term. Is there some way I can separate negative 12 into factors whose sum is this middle term's coefficient? Okay, so step 2 is you're going to find the factors of the number you get from step 1 whose sum is B. Okay, so what factors of negative 12 have a sum of negative 11? Okay, so 1's got to be negative. Negative 12 and positive 1. Okay, once you do this, you're actually going to break that up, and you're then going to rewrite your middle term. Okay, so our middle term now was negative 11x, but we're going to rewrite it as negative 12x plus 1x. Is that still equivalent? Yeah, it's still negative 11x. After you rewrite the middle term, you're going to drop down your outer terms. Okay, so we're going to drop our 2x squared down, and we're going to drop our negative 6 down. And then the final step here, and again, we'll go through this some more, is we're now going to factor by grouping. Okay, so now we're just going to find the common factor in each pair of terms here. So what common factors can we remove from this first pair of terms? Okay, we can remove a 2x. When we remove a 2x from the first term, what's left? X. And when we remove a 2x from the second term, what's left? Negative 6, right? Okay. Now, can we remove any common factors from our last pair? No. If not, this is one of the few times you're actually going to write the 1 down. So we're going to factor out just the 1. When we factor out a 1 from this first term, what's left? X. And from the second term, what's left? Negative 6. Now, notice what's going to happen here. Okay, so you're going to write out the common factor. Okay, and it's a binomial. So I'm going to take my x minus 6. I'm going to pull that out. And when I remove an x minus 6, what terms are left for my second binomial? A 2x and a plus 1. Okay, so after you write out this common factor, okay, what you're then going to do is take your remaining factors and form the other binomial. All right, so I'm going to go through one really quickly. You don't have to write this down. We'll go through other examples next class. But let's say we take the following problem. Okay. What I would do is take my a times c value. What's 3 times negative 8? Negative 24. What two factors of negative 24 have a sum of positive 2? positive 6 and a negative 4. So if I rewrite my middle term as the sum of those and I drop down my outer terms, I can now factor by grouping. In the first set, I can remove a 3x, leaving me an x plus 2. In the second set, you're always going to take out the sign that's in front of that term, so negative 4, leaving an x minus, when we remove a negative 4 from negative 8, we're left with a plus 2. So I have this common factor. That's my first binomial factor, and then the remaining terms, 3x and minus 4, give me my other factor.